Hello and welcome to Super Over Decoded, powered by IDFC FIRST Bank. India versus Pakistan, third game of this World Cup, is known to be the mother of all rivalries. But having said that, last few years, it hasn't been anything like a rivalry. India in T20 World Cup, 7-1. Heavily loaded in favor of India. So that's how this match was set up. But the tricky bit was this, that India was going to Colombo to play this game, where Pakistan had already played two of their games in this World Cup. That was a little tricky, and Colombo, generally the pitches are spin friendly. So the big question before the game was, how will Indian batters play at least 5 spinners that Pakistan had played in their last game on a pitch which kind of assists the spinners? So this was the big question. Obviously, India would have spinners. Would India play 3 spinners or 2 spinners? Would there be a change in combination? Well, that was the big question. Now, obviously, India went in with an extra spinner. So in place of Arshdeep, Kuldeep Yadav came in, which was normal, which was on expected lines. And the good thing was that in the last game, Abhishek Sharma was injured, or rather unwell. He comes back. And the surprising bit, the toss. Pakistan won the toss. They elected to field first. But this is what happened in the first pitch. So India was going to bat first because Pakistan won the toss, elected to field. India, couple of changes. Abhishek Sharma comes back in and goes in with Kuldeep Yadav in place of Arshdeep for Pakistan, the same team. So the big question was, will the Indian batters play the spin, and how well will they play spin of the Pakistani bowlers?
Before we move to the middle order of the match,
let's talk about pressure management. In an India-Pakistan game, every single over matters. Every run adds up. Every small advantage builds up momentum. You don't win these matches in one big moment. You win them by maximizing every phase. Finance works exactly the same way. We often focus on only big returns, but real growth happens when consistency compounds over time. With IDFC FIRST Bank savings account, you earn monthly interest credits, not quarterly. That means your money earns interest every month, and that interest starts compounding sooner. It may look incremental, but over time, it creates a meaningful impact. IDFC FIRST Bank, because small gains consistently added can change the outcome. It was always going to be, the big challenge was going to be the spinners. Spinners from Pakistan, India batting first. That was one. The second thing was, this pitch was on the slower side. On the same pitch, earlier on this tournament, there was a game between Zimbabwe and Australia, where Zimbabwe actually scored 169 and defended it. So the chances were it's going to be a low scoring. But then, having said that, Indian batters had to quickly assess what the PAK score would be batting first. Like I said, it was always going to be about spin bowling, and surprise, surprise, who bowled the first over? It was the Pakistan captain, Salman Agha, who came in to bowl the first over, which took everyone by surprise. There are other bowlers, but Salman is not a regular bowler. And that paid off. First over itself got the wicket of Abhishek. Now, that is a little bit of a concern because Abhishek is like a bit of a boom or a bust. So when he gets going, massive. But when he doesn't, he does not score anything. So there's a lot of ducks in his very, very early career so far with Abhishek. And then the second over, Shaheen comes in, and that's where Ishan Kishan starts off. First over goes for plenty, and then everyone was a little surprised when Abrar, the leg spinner, came on to bowl, when there was 2 left-handers, Tilak Verma and Ishan Kishan. When you already have someone like Saeem Ayub, or even Tariq for that matter, because the big chat before this game was Tariq, who has a very different kind of an action and a very unique action, not just the sidearm bit, but the pause that he gives before he delivers the delivery. First change, Abrar Ahmed, he goes for plenty, and that's when everything started going in India's favor. First 6 overs, the power play, 52 runs. That was a really, really good power play, because the whole idea was to maximize the power play overs. 6 overs, the bowlers knew would come on to the bat. It will not turn as much, and that's exactly what happened. Ishan Kishan, especially him, took the bowlers to the cleaners in the power play. And then it didn't stop. Ishan Kishan went on, continued playing those shots, got out on 77. The difference between Ishan Kishan and the other batters was so prominent in that innings, because you take Ishan Kishan out, everyone else almost struggled India lost a couple of quick wickets. In fact, lost the wicket of Tilak, and very next ball Hardik comes in and he gets out to Saim Ayub. So that Saim Ayub over was a very, very crucial one. Then suddenly when India were looking to get to maybe 185, 190, but 2 wickets in 1 over, and Saim Ayub was actually on hat-trick, which Shivam Dube somehow managed that hat-trick ball to keep it away from the stumps, not to get an edge. But then that over was a crucial one. And from there on, Indian batting just slowed down a little bit, which was on expected lines, because once the ball got older, it helped the spinners more. The spinners anyways had a lot of help. And then what was looking like maybe 190 ended up with 175, with obviously where Surya, maybe the strike rate wasn't too high, but I think he played really nicely. And also Shivam Dube, whose strike rate was high as well and got crucial runs in the end. Last over, Shaheen Shah Afridi. So out of 20 overs, 18 overs were bowled by spinners. Only 2 overs by Shaheen Afridi, who went for plenty again. Last over, he came out to bowl, was hit for a 6 and a 4. And then last, for the 5th ball, run out. Wanted Rinku Singh to come on strike, but then it was only 1, wanted 2, did not happen. And then for the last ball, the new batter came out right after that run out was Akshar Patel, and unfortunately he couldn't add too much. So 175 is what India got batting first, which I thought was good. On a low scoring game, like I said, 160, 165 was par, and Zimbabwe defended 169. On that same pitch, India got 175, which looked really good, a little above par. 175 was what India was defending, right? And needed early wickets, or for that matter, Pakistan needed a good start, just like India in the power play. But then again, it went into India's favour. It was always going to be about spinners. India also played an extra spinner in Kuldeep Yadav. But then the first over was bowled by Hardik. Hardik picks up a wicket. Sahibzada Farhan, who has a good record against Bumrah. But then Bumrah comes back, second over, picks up 2 wickets. So suddenly, Pakistan were 13 for 3, chasing 175 on a tricky pitch. And to a great extent, that game was lost by Pakistan in that first 2 overs when they lost those 3 wickets, and they never looked like getting back on track. Indian bowlers made sure that they didn't get back on track. It was always going to be again the spinners, but the Indian spinners were good as well. Varun Chakravarti comes in, bowls beautifully. Kuldeep comes in. Akshar, because I thought Akshar is going to be, I wouldn't say the weak link, but then somebody who might hold the key. You expect Kuldeep to pick wickets, Varun to pick wickets, Hardik to bowl well, and obviously Jasprit Bumrah is a match winner. Somehow had a feeling overs from Akshar was going to be key, and he bowled beautifully. First over, he did go for some runs because he had to bowl in the power play. The other big challenge that India had, usually you would have Arshdeep and Hardik bowling the first few overs, and then Bumrah just bowled 1 over. In the absence of Arshdeep, who was it going to be the one who's going to bowl with the new ball? And it was Bumrah. And Bumrah did what Bumrah does, which is picking wickets. But then 3 wickets in the first 2 overs, and Pakistan never looked like coming back into the game. In the end, you can imagine Rinku Singh bowling an over, Tilak Verma bowling an over and getting a wicket. People who generally don't bowl. That was a little bit of salt in the wound, to be fair, when you get someone like Tilak Verma to come and bowl and he picks up a wicket. Then you have Rinku Singh to bowl an over. That just tells you how easy. In the end, India won by 61, which is in a 175 game. It's a huge margin. A little disappointing because you want these games to be really close and tight games where you get those emotions coming out of you. Unfortunately, again, was a little disappointing because it wasn't anything like a rivalry kind of a game. But credit to India for kind of getting those runs initially and then defending like a true champion side. So 3 out of 3 for India in the second innings, defending 175 rather easily. Turning point for me, 2 things. First of all, the very beginning, the toss itself. I was surprised and was quite happy, to be fair, when Pakistan won the toss and elected to field first. Because for me, I think the best chance for Pakistan to win this game was to bat first, get 150, 160, and then put pressure on India chasing with the spinners, right? Because in a big game, generally, what you want to do is put score on the board. So you have your bowlers and everything else, but you also have the scoreboard pressure on the team chasing in big games. So I was surprised that Pakistan captain chose to bowl first. That is one. The other reason being T20 games. You want to chase. One of the reason being is the dew factor, especially in the subcontinent. But I tell you something, when there is overcast conditions, chances are there is not going to be dew. It was overcast. It did rain the evening before. And also it was windy. When you have all of that combination, chances are there won't be dew. So it won't be that difficult for the bowlers to defend. Now the third point is, the same venue, 2 games were played before this one. And in both those 2 games, batting first teams won, including the one which was played on the same pitch, and I've mentioned before, the Zimbabwe Australia game. 169 was defended successfully by Zimbabwe. So all those 3 points put together, I was extremely surprised Pakistan chose to bowl first. When I get into the brass tacks and individual players, it was Ishan Kishan's 77 of 40, which for me was the differentiator. The differentiator between the 2 teams was that innings from Ishan Kishan. 77 of 40 deliveries, and the other batters put together in that Indian innings scored 98 of 80 deliveries. On one hand was Ishan Kishan's innings, on the other hand everyone else. So that innings of 77 of 40 was by far the difference between those 2 teams, and definitely my turning point that inning. Well, I've mentioned in the last video, the biggest challenge for India in this game would be, how does Indian batters manage Pakistani spinners on a turning pitch, on a slow pitch? And then secondly, the tempo. Will the Indian batters manage to adapt to the tempo? Because last couple of years Indian batters are used to playing on quicker pitches and better batting surfaces, scoring 200 plus runs. Will Indian batters be able to adapt to these new conditions, slow conditions? Well, we got our answer. Number one, yes, Indian batters did. More so Ishan Kishan than anyone else with his knock of 77. But the others also did all right. But did they actually pass the test? I think, yeah, they did struggle a little bit. The bowling was good. Quality was very good, but I also think they managed it really well. But against the spinners, especially the off spinners, Saeem Ayub 3 for 25 in his 4, that's something. Remember Erasmus, the game previous to this, 4 for 20, he picked up 4. Saeem Ayub off spinner picked up 3. Usman Tariq going for only 24 in his 4. So those 8 overs of off spin and a little bit of, call it mystery or whatever you want to call it. So 8 overs of that, we only managed to get 49 runs and gave away wickets. So that's still is going to be one area that the Indian batters might want to reflect upon and look at, those middle phase. Because again, I think that 77-run innings of Ishan Kishan kind of bailed India out, and especially that power play, because the difference in the power play was, I think Pakistan was 38 for 4 and India was 52 for 1. I think that's where the game was won and lost. But as far as India is concerned, one is the positives are the positive intent that Indian batters showed, especially Ishan Kishan, even after the fall of wicket of Abhishek Sharma in the first over. That was a big positive. But something that India might want to reflect upon and look at is that middle phase, especially on these pitches in the World Cup that we've seen hasn't been very high scoring. So that middle phase when the spinners are bowling, and especially off spinners, these are basically not one basic area that the Indian team management and the batters might want to revisit or have a look at. While bowling is concerned, it was absolutely brilliant. I don't even think the Indian bowlers were challenged by the Pakistani batters. But yeah, that middle phase while India is batting, against especially off spinners, is something that India might want to look at and maybe plan a little bit. Thank you for watching Super Over Decoded, an initiative by Elite Sports.